Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Force here, and today we'll be checking out Star Trek the video game. This is a co-op third-person shooter from Digital Extremes, the same company who made Warframe, as well as the multiplayer in BioShock 2. Now here in this video I will be showing you guys a bit of gameplay as well as giving you my general thoughts and impressions on the game, and just so you know, we're looking at one of the earlier levels. I'm going to try not to spoil as much of the story as possible, and I also want to let you know that I've played my way through 1/3 of the game so far. Now I know this just by taking a look at the chapter selection screen. The reason I mention that is because it's taken me about 2 hours to get to this point, and so if we're to assume progression is the same throughout, then we're looking at a campaign between 5 and 7 hours in length, which I would say that's a little bit below average for a $50 game. Especially considering that this game, besides the co-op campaign, there's no multiplayer, like there's no competitive multiplayer or anything like that. So for $50 to only get 5 to 7 hours of gameplay, I would say, again, that's a little bit below average. So just something to keep in mind here as we get started. So let's begin by talking about the gameplay itself. Once again, this is a co-op third-person shooter. You get to play this game with one other person. That can either be a friend of yours, someone that you randomly get matched with online, or just the AI. So the AI can take over, which is actually exactly what's happening here. And that's part of the reason why he'll probably be pretty useless throughout the course of this video. So try to keep that in mind as well. This game does have a cover system. As you can see, I'm sort of taking posts here. And my AI computer, as expected, proving to be useless, maybe even more so than I thought he was going to be. Because he has died really early on, and I can revive him, but unfortunately with this guy charging at me, that might not be an option here, so I'm just gonna try to focus on just working him down, and I can revive Spock after the fact. Now when you're playing by yourself with an AI companion, you can decide if you want to play as Spock or Kirk. It's totally up to you. And there are slight differences between the two, but nothing super significant. You don't exactly have like special powers in this game. You know, obviously in Star Trek they don't really have special powers, except I guess Spock has the ability to just kind of read people's minds and stuff like that. But nothing that really comes through that drastically in the gameplay itself. Now let's go ahead and just talk about the movement and the different things that you can do. So as I mentioned, you can post up, and they're pretty generous with this system. It's actually, I would say, somewhat robust in the sense that you can post up against most things that you would expect you would be able to. Now I don't know, I should be able to post up against this thing. Instead my guy's rolling right now, which is part of the problem when you have one button for multiple functions. There we go. So that time I was finally able to do it, but look at how frustrating that is, again, when you have the same button for roll and to post, which is the left control. You can run into issues just like what you saw just happen there. You are also able to crouch, which can help you sort of take temporary cover, if you will, although it is best just to post up if possible. And the crouch system also actually works as a semi-stealth system in specifically scripted areas. So there are parts in this game where you can use this to try to bypass enemies, but they don't technically have any stealth functionality in the sense that there's no stealth meter or anything along those lines. It's just certain parts of the game will let you crouch to avoid things, avoid certain enemies and stuff like that. But yeah, there's no like, oh, you can become a stealth Kirk or stealth Spock. It's nothing like that necessarily. Alright, so we're going to be moving on in here. I'd like to let you guys know where this is in the story. Now again, I'm trying to show you a part that's not going to spoil too much of the game's story, but in terms of where this game fits in the Star Trek universe, it actually acts as a continuation to JJ Abrams' 2009 film, as well as a precursor to the upcoming film Into Darkness, which is of course the next Star Trek movie. So they're trying to position this, obviously, I mean it seems pretty evident here, they're trying to position this so that anyone who's really excited about the upcoming Star Trek movie is gonna want to pick up this game. However, let me warn you, maybe if you're a huge fan of Star Trek and you just want to get a little bit more of the story, then you might want to pick this up just to get that. You know, they get that little fix there, that little Star Trek fix. But if you're just looking for a great third-person shooter, that's not really what you're going to get here. I would call this pretty average after 3 hours. Now, it's not a review, it's just first impressions, but from what I've seen so far after playing through 1/3 of the game, it's pretty average. It's nothing incredible, nothing that's really blown me away so far. Alright, so there's a few things I want to show you in this room before we progress progress through the rest of this level, number one, we can do a few things with our tricoder. The tricoder allows you to interact with various objects within the environment. So number one, what I can do is I can see my next objective. Once we get that there, I'll be able to basically see where we have to go next. The other thing though is that I can tell Spock what to do. So I can tell him, you come over here, or you go over there, you take up post next to that wall or whatever. I can also tell him to pick up various weapons, so if I don't like the weapon that he's using at the time, I can tell him to switch it. And it's really just your secondary weapon. Your primary weapon, which is your little phase blaster here, your phaser, that's always going to be the same. You can't switch that out as far as I can tell. But these secondary weapons you can switch, like right now, I've got this Gorn weapon here, and fire off a couple rounds. You notice that ammunition down over there in the lower right-hand corner, and I can reload, obviously. And also, whenever you walk over a weapon, it will automatically pick up ammunition if that's the weapon that you've got equipped. So notice how I'm 25 of 13. That's going to get filled up to 25 of 75 just by walking over. So I like that, not having to pick up ammo, just being able to run over it. That's a nice feature to have. And I'm also, you know, somewhat impressed with the cover system. It can be a little clumsy for the reason I mentioned before, with the dodge being bound to the same key, but it works most of the time, so that's not really a complaint that I have about this game. Which is good, because, you know, this game has many issues with just being mediocre as is, so if the cover system was horrible, then that would be even more problematic. So some of my major issues with this game have come in the form of glitching. There's been some graphical glitching, some character models floating in the air, running in place, and then just some sort of randomness that really shouldn't be occurring. And that's been something that kind of frustrates me. But besides that, this game doesn't look half bad. I'm playing on the highest settings. There's basically just 3 settings, low, medium, and high. And I am playing on the highest settings, and it looks all right. You know, it's not terrible looking. Got some stun grenades here beyond our weapons, which we can switch with Q, or we can do 1 and 2 to switch between our 2. And then 4 will give us access to the grenade. And as you can see on that radial down over there in the lower left, there was a spot for one other thing. I'm not entirely sure what that is because I haven't picked it up. I'm assuming though it's either going to be a third weapon or some sort of specialty item. So that's what would make the most sense to me, really.
Perfect.
All right, so we got some more guys over here. Let's go ahead and take cover.
That seems to be the usual course.
And I can tell Spock, I can say, hey Spock, why don't you go ahead and go over here? Well, at least I'm trying to. It's not really. There we go. There you go, Spock. So you can take cover over there. So yeah, I mean, you've got the ability to sort of command him amongst the battlefield when you are just playing with the AI, which is certainly helpful. It helps alleviate some of the frustration of dealing with a computer ally. Which can be very, very frustrating. Now the tricoder the tricoder can also let you interact with objects like this. So there are certain objects that you can interact with to basically pull out to become cover. Now that wasn't really necessary here, but if it was, that's something that we could do. And it also allows you to identify items that you haven't discovered before. Now, we're not gonna get a lot of that in this video, simply because of the fact that I've discovered most things, but basically what would happen is, say the first time I ran across a Gorn enemy, or the first time I came across this weapon, I was able to identify it with the tricoder, which unlocked XP. Now you also get XP from completing chapters and levels and objectives, and then you use that XP right over here in this upgrade system. So this is the progression within this game. We've got these upgrades that we're able to purchase individually for Kirk and Spock as well. Now some of them are the same. You're gonna notice a software suit, shield booster, weak spot analyzer, sound suppression, fields, and if I switch over here, pretty much the same for this one as well. But we also have some differences as well. So here for Kirk, we've got automatic fire, heat efficient shot, and firing stabilizer. And then if we switch that around, it isn't exactly the same. We got the heat vents there, the stun booster, and the kill charger. So a little bit different here between those, but I do believe that these ones on the left-hand side are pretty much the same for the two. I think that's sort of a missed opportunity. I think that they could have done a little bit more. At least, you know, they do some stuff with this general weapon that they are a little bit different between the two. But the specialties here with the electronics, the support, and the combat, once again, I believe they're pretty much exactly the same. Let me check again. Sound suppression field, sound decoy, dematerializer, weak spot analyzer, weapon jammer, and grenade hacker. Yeah, so they're exactly the same. I think that's a missed opportunity. I think they could have differentiated Kirk and Spock a little bit more. I realize like they don't really have crazy special powers, and this isn't going to turn into Mass Effect where we're able to like levitate things and stuff like that. But I think there could have been. I just think it's a missed opportunity, and it kind of bums me out that they didn't differentiate them more than beyond their basic weapon upgrades, having different firing modes. Essentially, is I guess what we could break it down to. Alright, we got some fools over here, so let's go ahead and take them out. Post up against the wall. And I think we've got one more over there. And you know what I can actually do? I can lower that, and I think I can do it from here, to make him lose his cover. So one of the advantages for the tricoder is that you can use it offensively or defensively. And it's got quite a range on it right now, because I also got an upgrade for it to increase its distance that it can interact with things. So another example right here, I can use this to remove their cover. I'm also taking significant damage right now though, so I should probably just shoot them instead of trying to just remove their cover. Yeah, that's much better. A little bit better there. Now again, there aren't many objects for me to interact with, but this is just primarily because I've already been through this level. Otherwise, there's a fair amount, and it's significant enough that it kind of became frustrating because I felt like every single room that I went into, I had to pop up the tricoder just to check if there was anything new that I could interact with. And it just kind of got a little bit annoying for that reason, so a little too much. It felt like there was a little too much dependency on it. All right, we get these little healing locations here. And I can also check out my buddy, and if he's injured, I can say, why don't you go over here, Spock, and why don't you heal yourself? But since he's not really injured, there's really no need for that. And ammo refill station right here. I wonder if he needs ammo. Can I tell you get ammo here? Nope, guess you don't need ammo either. Fine. Fine, Spock, whatever. All right. Little co-op interaction as we open the door together. Beyond this sort of a system, there's also systems where you're hacking together, trying to bypass various security systems together, stuff like that. It sort of works like, I guess you could compare it to sort of Dead Space 3's puzzle solving system, or door opening system. Sort of the same. In fact, the first time I really experienced that door opening thing together, I believe that was in the first Army of 2. So again, similar to that as well. So here's something that this game does, and I guess I would commend them for this. They really try to give you some options. So for example, at this part right here, I can actually do platforming. So this game does have platforming, and it's all right, you know, it's not bad. Pretty standard. You have an object that you can clearly grab onto, and they even go as far as to allow you to leap from one object to the next like that. So it's all right, you know. They're definitely trying here. They're trying to sort of mix things up a little bit, but beyond the third-person co-op cover system, they're allowing you to move. But in this particular position, beyond trying to use this platforming to move from one side to the other, I actually could have just used my tricoder to deactivate the electricity, which would then allow me to walk on the ground safely. So there are some instances, although they're fairly few that I've seen so far in the game, there are some instances where they give you some choices in terms of how you progress past an obstacle. Another use of the co-op here, we can do one of two things in this situation. I can go up here and be the one who asks for a hand to get a boost, or I can tell him to move here.
Whenever you're ready, Spock.
And okay, Spock, go here. What are you doing? I'm supposed to be able to tell him to move here. Yeah, one-way boost. There we go. So now I can tell Spock to move there, and I can boost him up, just like this.
I require your help here, Captain.
Right. There we go. So now I can boost him up, and then he is going to take care of it for me. And I thought that was kind of neat. You know, I feel like in some co-op games, they would just make it so that the player has to do that and go on the other side. But allowing the AI to move over and open the door so that I can move in and take care of what I need to take care of, which is to grab this power cell. I like that. Again, the option Not that it really matters, like, because there wasn't anything for me to do over there besides wait, so I'm assuming most people would just hop over themselves, but still. Options are nice. And it seems like they've done a good job of making the AI relatively helpful, if not in combat, at least so that they're not a hindrance. And it's funny to say that that's a good thing, but I feel like a lot of games that are co-op focused, when the AI takes over, a lot of times they just sort of make things a lot more difficult. But in this game, he kind of stays out of your way and is helpful when it's necessary. So that is certainly a positive here. And now we've got a bit more combat against the Gorn. All right, here we go, guys. Taking out post. You know, I have to say, though, I think the most unfortunate thing here about this game is I think a lot of people are going to compare it to Mass Effect 3 in the sense that it's a third-person shooter. But it falls supremely short of that in terms of just the options that you have and just the general gameplay as well. Let me go ahead and take cover over here. This actually is not looking good. Oh no, down but not out. Spock, help me up here, buddy. And it makes sense though, you know, because in Star Trek you don't have a lot, you know, it's not Mass Effect. You don't have these crazy spells. You don't have, like, the ability to levitate objects and throw fireballs out of your hand and spawn death angels to help you in battle. Like, that's not really part of the Star Trek universe so much, at least not to my understanding, and I am by no means a Star Trek expert, so yeah, for that reason it's just pretty standard shooting. You know, it could even just be not even in this space setting, because they don't really, not really much futuristic besides the basic weapons. But even that, I mean, it really just feels like, besides the projectile coming out, it sort of just feels like an assault rifle and a pistol, and then a stun grenade. I've got access to that as well, but that's about it. But you know, again, the cover system is fine. It's all right, and the shooting is all right as well.
More coming.
I would like it to feel more impactful. The enemies kind of respond a little funnily to, like, just a little oddly to the shots. Doesn't seem like my weapons pack that much of a punch, but not in the damage that they do, but just in the sort of the tactile feedback that you get from shooting an enemy. Their responsiveness to getting shot isn't that great. And if you're looking for examples, I would say a good example is the Gears of War series. They do a great job. I mean, when you're filling someone full of lead in that game, their body is responsive to it, and there's a clear sense of impact, and that just feels a little lacking here in this game. And we're going to be presented right here now with this is a good example of sort of the co-op interaction that can take place. So with that crash, my guy here, Kirk, gets a little hurt and has trouble walking, and so now in this upcoming scene we rely on Spock. But even this is a little... Did you see how janky that looked? That just looked bad. But this is relatively short, and I feel like they really haven't made use of the co-op interaction that much. Or at least, like, I feel like there's opportunity for them to improve. And maybe that's something that'll change in the last 2/3 of the game, but so far, these areas here have been few and far between. But yeah, now you can see here, Spock sort of helps me along, and I'm taking care of the shooting.
Hey, Spock.
As we make our way to the medical center to try to heal up and take advantage of that super futuristic healing capabilities for an instant heal. Instant recovery of a broken leg.
The sooner we get you to the medbay, the sooner we can heal that leg.
You should hurry. I'm detecting more Gorn approaching your location.
Yes, I know, we're trying to hurry. But it's kind of slow.
Captain, I will.
And there's really nothing I can do about it.
Hold off these creatures at the same time.
As much as I would like.
My leg, Spock. I'll hold him off. You're enjoying this, aren't you?
I assure you that I am not. This may...
Damn it!
And just gonna shoot these guys, and all of a sudden my camera just jumped over there for some reason. Try not to make it so that my thing overheats. We have the ability to stun too,
You should now be
as an alternate fire. Every weapon's got alternate fire.
Captain, we must find a way outside.
I'll show you the alien weapon ultimate fire as well. In just 1 second.
Too dangerous. Stay where you are.
As soon as we pick this up. Alright, so here we go. So alternate fire, this has got the basic fire of this, and then if I middle mouse button, it's going to use an entire clip, if you will, or whatever that's called. For, I think it's kind of just like a shotgun pulse is what that's supposed to be. And let me check this room to see if there's actually anything that I haven't found before. I don't know that that's the case. Oh, here we go, wonderful. Here's a perfect example. Stuff like this, when you're playing through for the first time, you'll see a lot more. Pretty much in every other room, there'll be something for you to scan like this, which will give you XP. But once more, since I've already played through, I've already found most of this stuff, and that's why it hasn't been available prior, as we've been making our way through the game. Also, the ability to sprint, it's a toggle with F. I know that sounds funny, but you don't really use it that often. It's not really super necessary, so that's what it's bound to by default. And at first I switched it to shift, but then when I realized it's just a toggle and you don't really need it a lot, I switched it back because shift is defaulted to the telescanner, which you use a lot more than you do. Oh, and here's another example. I can scan this and get myself some XP. So you can see you got 100 XP there. How wonderful. Yeah, we'll just shoot these guys. If you're wondering about difficulty, this is on the middle difficulty out of 3. So this is, I guess, what you would call the average difficulty for a playthrough. I would probably suggest playing on hard because I found very little challenge so far in playing on the medium difficulty. So if you're going to be picking up this game and playing through it, probably just do it on the highest setting, because it's been a little too easy on the medium setting. Just a bit too easy. And another object to scan as well. Wonderful. That one gave me 500 XP. That is actually a huge number. Giving me more research data, which I can hit escape to show you. This is just information that you've collected. So this also shows you the chapters here. So that's the general section. But then there's Helios 1, New Vulcan, Frontier, and then there's these additional chapters. And that's it. So it's a pretty short game, like I alluded to at the start. It's feeling like it's definitely a pretty short game. All right, I can tell Spock to pick that up, but I think he's already got access to that weapon, so there's really no need to do so. And we're just going to be going a little bit further because I want to show you there's one additional aspect to this game, which is space battles. And that'll be coming up in just a few moments as we make it past here through the rest of this chapter.
Spock, Kirk, this way.
I know.
These Gorn have completely infested our colony.
We're going. Don't worry. Oh no! Shot on my bottom. Let's take cover over here. Take cover, please. Thank you. Well, it's kind of unfortunate, but I can't say that I'm surprised, really. I can't say that I expected anything else from this game. You know? I didn't expect this to be an amazing game, and that's good, because keeping expectations low, I got just sort of an average third-person shooter. But, you know, I don't think they were really aiming to, not to excuse them, but I don't think they were aiming to make the next Mass Effect here. This is really meant more as fan service. This is really meant for fans of Star Trek who want to get some story for Star Trek. And that's pretty much it. In fact, I would even argue that if you're just looking for a good third-person shooter, take a look at another one of Digital Extreme's games, which is Warframe. It's free to play. You can play it with up to 4 people, and it's a little more robust of a game than this. This game just feels a little lacking for a $50 price tag. It feels a bit lacking. All right, so now we got a mark here for Scotty. He's gonna help us up. And then he's gonna beam us up. Alright, here we go.
Mr. Scott, need I remind you that the situation is critical. Time is of the essence.
Calling in an airstrike. Woohoo! Thank you, Scotty. Here it comes. Ba-bam, bam, bam, bam. Some of the textures and animations in this game look pretty bad, too. I'm just saying. You know? If you couldn't tell already. Alright, we just gotta fend off one last wave here. Of these guys. And by now, I mean, with everything I've shown you, you guys pretty much know what's going on with this game. There's really not a lot else for you to know.
Scotty, energize.
Come on, Scotty. Beam us up. Thank you. Okay, and we're going to be wrapping up this video with the space battle. I'm just going to skip this cinematic, not to spoil any story for you guys, and to show you the actual combat, which is what I'm here to show you. So let's finish this off here, guys. Once again, this has been Force checking out Star Trek the video game, a co-op third-person shooter featuring Kirk and Spock. It acts as a continuation of JJ Abrams' 2009 Star Trek film and as a prequel to Into Darkness. And here's some space combat. You can move around in 360. You got the ability to activate your shields, and you can also fire torpedoes with middle mouse button. That looks impressive. The game was developed by Digital Extremes, who also made Warframe. And it is available on the 360, PS3, and PC for $49.99. So if you guys are interested, give it a look. Thanks for checking out Star Trek the video game. If you like the content, please subscribe. And as always, keep watching and keep owning. Force, why aren't you explaining the space combat? There's really not much to say. I don't know. Like the rest of this game, it's just fairly mediocre.
Then let's get this over with.
Hello.
For some reason, the highest security protocols have been enabled on this door.
Can we hack it?
Possibly, but you will have to work together to beat the encryption.
All right. I'm a running lady, running every day. I'm a running lady, running my way. Running lady, run, run, run. Running lady stopped.
Door's locked. We'll have to override manual.